Hello everyone, good evening. Welcome to our world history classes. So today we are going to discuss a very new topic, that is the French Revolution. Okay. So the French Revolution, it is also called the Revolution of 1789. It is also called Revolution of 1789 because officially it got started in 1789. That is why we call it as Revolution of 1789. Okay. And it is actually a revolutionary movement that shook France and reached its first climax in 1789. Hence, conventionally, we call it as Revolution of 1789. Okay. What happened is that the ancient regime was there, or the monarchy which was there, the revolution overthrown this monarchy, and something new system which has come into place. This is what happened in French Revolution. We'll see in detail what all things happened. This is just an introductory statement which I can give you. So you can just remember here it's also called Revolution of 1789 because some kind of revolution or some events happened in 1789. So we officially mark 1789 as the initial years of French Revolution or starting of French Revolution. Okay. Now, as usual, before getting into, we'll try to understand what are the previous year's questions. So normally, I told you direct questions are expected from world history. Previous year's questions with respect to French Revolution, some I have quoted here. Throw light on the debate on the nature of French Revolution. The continental system was a double-edged sword which harmed its creator more than its opponent. Comment. We have something called continental system to study in French Revolution. Okay, the question is about that. And the third question is the political existence of the Napoleonic Empire was short, but it was an event of profound significance in the history of Europe. Elucidate. Okay, these are the few questions which have been asked with respect to French Revolution. Okay, now we'll see in world map where France is coming. Last day we were seeing United Kingdom, so you guys will be sure about two things now. You will be knowing where America comes and 13 colonies where it was. Okay, we had 13 colonies here. And we also spoke about UK here. Okay, today we are going to talk about France. Okay, so we are talking about France and French Revolution here. So now I think you guys are clear with where France comes in Europe. Okay, the entire area we call it as Europe, and France comes in Europe and it is situated there. Okay, now we'll see what are the neighbors of France, because French Revolution is a little lengthy topic, and connecting to that we have to see German unification, Italy unifications, etc. So if you know the neighbors, it will be easy for you to understand coming classes also. Okay, so we'll try to understand neighbors. Okay, this again France. Okay, capital is Paris. You know, it is in the global map. It has been shown here. Okay, yeah, France neighbors are Germany, very important neighbor. Next to France, okay, before this area was called Prussia. Okay, here you have Russia. Okay, it will be new to you. Before this area was called Prussia, Prussia. Okay, and Italy we have here. Now we have Switzerland, we have Austria, we have Spain. Okay, and we have United Kingdom that we have seen yesterday. Ireland also we have seen yesterday. These are the and Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg. All these are small countries. All things are surrounded by France. Okay, now two countries or three countries you have to be very familiar with respect to France is that Prussia. Okay, that is current Germany. It was called Prussia during that time, and even the area wise also some difference is there with respect to the how it was now. It was before and now, but imagine that where Germany is today. Now we had Prussia, and we towards this is the eastern side. Okay, this is south, north, west, east. Towards the eastern side we have Russia, and towards south we have Italy, Switzerland, Austria, and towards the western side we have Spain. Okay, these are the neighbors of France. I told you United Kingdom and France is separated by what? English Channel. Okay, this water area is called English Channel. And United Kingdom also island country, it got beneficial because of the geographical area and the existence which has. Okay, that also we have discussed. Okay, this much you have to know about where France is situated. What are the immediate, who are the immediate neighbors of France? Okay, now let's get into the the topic of discussion, French Revolution. Okay, French Revolution began in 1789 and ended in the late 1790s with the ascent of Napoleon Bonaparte. Okay, one more thing I would like to tell is that please write down the lecture notes what I'm giving now, because in the PDF notes there are so many stories attached to this. Okay, I'll be telling stories in the class, but PDF note I could not include all the stories. So whatever we are discussing I have included the PPT. So what you can do is that, like, PPT, you please try to copy, lecture notes you try to make it. Okay, because PDF notes will be very structured way in a different manner, and if you have the lecture notes only, you will understand the PDF. Okay. So it began in 1789. I told you it is also called the Revolution of 1789 and ended in the late 1790s with the ascent of Napoleon Bonaparte. We'll see everything about Napoleon in the coming classes. During this period, French citizens raised and redesigned their country's political landscape. So what were things were changed with respect to French Revolution? Political landscape is changed, uprooting the centuries-old institutions such as absolute monarchy and feudal system. Absolute monarchy is removed, feudal system is removed. You know what is feudal system from past two classes we are discussing. What is feudal system? You guys will be aware of this. Absolute monarchy means everything is under the king. Okay, there is no constitution, nothing. One person, one man show. Absolute monarchy, and it will be hierarchically. I will talk about the nobles and other peasants. Everybody will come in the hierarchy. So with French Revolution, what has happened is that political landscape have changed in France. Okay, what all things have changed? Political landscape have changed. Centuries old absolute monarchy and feudal system have been changed. Okay, and French Revolution was a product of dysfunctional society characterized by feudalism. So society was dysfunctional. That means but not functional, not beneficial, not taking care of welfare of the people. There was repeated droughts and famines. When there was shortage of food, then inflation was there. So because of all these things, society was dysfunctional. It was not at all working properly, characterized by feudalism. Okay. Yesterday we have studied something called, okay, evolution we studied. I hope you remember. We were talking about feudalism. Slowly it changed to guild system. Slowly it changed to capitalism. Okay, this is how we reached industrial revolution in capitalism era. Okay, so we had feudalism, we have guild system, and we have capitalism. Before French Revolution, France is here. During French Revolution also, France is here. After French Revolution only, industrial revolution, capitalism, everything comes. So when French Revolution is happening in France, there is no industrial revolution. Guild system exists there. That means it is not yet developed. It is on the path of development. Mechanized system, scientific thoughts, evolution, reasoning, thinking, evidences, empiricism, all these concepts are not there in picture. Okay, church is ruling, monarchy is ruling in different side. Church is also imposing taxes, monarchy is also imposing taxes. So all these things are happening. Okay, we'll see in detail. So this was characterized by feudalism. So where is France now? Now France is there in the era of feudalism. Okay, during French Revolution. Now we'll try to understand the revolution, what all things happened. Okay, it overthrew the monarchy, the king system, kingship that is overthrown, established. Okay, during French Revolution, the king was King Louis the 16th. Okay, you don't have to by heart his name, on no need to remember also. I just told you, because all the kings are named like this: Louis 1, 2, 3, like that. Louis the 16th, it is 15, 16, it's been called like that. So very easy to remember. Just to think that during French Revolution, who was the king or the monarch was Louis the 16th. Okay, he was a very poor, that means intellectually not developed. Okay, that means we'll see in detail. Okay, what we are talking about. Overthrew the monarchy, established a republic. French Revolution overthrew the monarchy, the kingship system was removed, established a republic, catalyzed violent periods of political turmoil. Okay, what was catalyzed means it helped. Okay, or it tried to impose violent periods of political turmoil was happening, and finally what things happened culminated in a dictatorship under Napoleon. French Revolution take a pause or come to an end with the entrance of Napoleon, and actually he come in saying that I'll take care of your liberty, equality, fraternity, and I am one person among you. Saying all these things is coming to picture. Once he got the power, he became dictator. Okay, that is a story with Napoleon. Okay, he tried to introduce industrial revolution or French revolution. We can broadly say French revolution in France. And finally, he said that I will expand or I will extend French revolution to my neighbors also. That means what, he'll go and conquer these countries and then he will impose his rule there. And he says that French revolution I have exported to this country. This is what he used to do. Okay, who brought many of the revolution principles to areas he conquered in Western Europe and beyond. Same thing. Okay, what Napoleon did is that he coming to the later pictures of French Revolution. They will win the revolution. They will throw the monarchy out of that, and Napoleon, heading by Napoleon, a government will come into existence. Okay, not a government, a dictatorship kind of thing comes into existence, and he says that I will export now the concept of French Revolution to my neighbors. Okay, just by simply conquering the Western Europe and beyond. His plan was that, and he was doing that. Okay, this is the revolution's another picture if you are seeing. Okay, so what are the things the revolution did? The revolution overthrew the monarchy, established a republic, catalyzed violent periods of political turmoil, and finally culminated in a dictatorship under Napoleon, who brought many of the revolution's principles to areas he conquered in Western Europe and beyond. Okay, I think you guys understood. Nothing big, simple to understand. Okay, we are discussing today about the causes, events, something about the Jacobins and Napoleon and the impact. Okay, this is all we have to study about French Revolution. But today we will not have enough time to discuss everything. We'll discuss till half of the part and we'll try to finish in the next class in the entire portion. Okay, so in your answers with respect to French Revolution, any question come in, your answer should have these 4 points. Okay, it should have the causes, what are the events happened with respect to French Revolution, who were the Jacobins, what were their role, and how Napoleonic France, everything happened, and finally, what is the impact. Okay, now causes of French Revolution. With respect to causes of French Revolution, we have different sectors. Okay, we can divide and study with respect to political, role of thinkers, economic, social, army. So by this way, you guys it will be easy for you guys to remember this. Okay, so we'll see what are the political causes of French Revolution. We'll see what were the role of thinkers. Thinkers we have studied in detail in Enlightenment. You have to refer Enlightenment lecture to understand the role of thinkers, what were their theories, and how they contributed through their theories to the different revolutions, what happened during society in Europe during that time. Okay, and the economic causes we'll try to understand, social causes we'll try to understand, and what are the role of army, how army were doing their role, and who was leading Napoleon was really leading the army, and what was the role, etc. We'll see here. So these are different causes of French Revolution. Now we'll go in detail to understand different causes. Okay, political causes. Okay, during French Revolution, Bourbon dynasty was ruling France. Okay, Bourbon dynasty, and the ruler's name is King Louis the 16th. Okay, he was ruling. Actually, Bourbon dynasty, absolute monarchy. Okay, there is no constitution, nothing. All depends upon the wish of the ruler, and rulers were living a very lavish life. Okay, King Louis the 16th was an inefficient ruler with poor intelligence. Okay, he was not a smart king. Okay, or not even a efficient ruler. He is an inefficient ruler with poor intelligence. Okay, and these were the political situation during French Revolution in France. Okay, what happened is that when we are studying American Revolution, I think you guys remember when American Revolution happened, the Britain, what was America trying to do? America, if America is here, America was trying, and Britain is here, America was trying to, 13 colonies, they made a group, okay, and they have said that we will make a union of our own. Okay, that is how the starting of United States of America has happened. We'll make a union of our own. So what has happened? British king, they thought that some mutiny is happening. They imported their army here. I hope you guys remember. When army come in to suppress whatever revolt happening in eastern coast, what has happened? French have sent their help towards here. Okay, therefore French army helped the Native Americans, and from Britain, British armies came and they was fighting, and finally French and the Native Americans won the battle, and the American Revolution was happening. All those fights. We have discussed all these things. We know that. Okay. Therefore, I told you when France came, what all things France helped? France helped in two eras. France obviously given army, and France also given finance. Okay. We have discussed that day. So therefore, France actually, the French was not doing very well during that time. Sorry. So France was not financially well during that time. Then also they came to help British, because Anglo-French rivalry was there from decades. Okay. In that revenge, they have come to help because they've already lost all the colonies in North America. They didn't have any root here. Then also they came to help Native Americans. It's not because of the love towards Native Americans. It is because of the revenge or the angerness towards British. Okay. That is what France role in French Revolution. So American Revolution. So this financing of American Revolution was done by France. Okay, we know that. And I told you, French as a state was not doing well with their finances. Instead of that, also they have taken money from their country and contributed towards helping a war in America. Because of that, the financial condition in France got deteriorated again and again. Okay, France was becoming poorer. And obviously, in a monarchy, in a country where there is shortage of money, or where there is poverty is there, who will be suffering? The low class people will be suffering. The king or the monarchy or the nobles or the chiefs, they will not have any problem. Okay, they will keep on increasing the taxes and they will have their lavish life. Obviously, the normal citizens will be suffering. Okay, it is same in case of all the countries. Okay, so one of the political causes was the financing of American Revolution. When American Revolution was financed from French money, France money was getting deteriorated, or their financial capacity was getting deteriorated. Okay. Then next one is politically there was nepotism prevailing in Bourbon dynasty. That means with respect to the royal appointments, employment, anything related to the government, what will happen? Nepotism exists. Okay. What do you mean by nepotism? Yesterday also we discussed. If you are going through current affairs, it's very familiar for you nowadays. Appointment or giving employment or giving positions to people whom you are friends, family, like-minded, and all this set of people. Okay, this is the concept of nepotism. So political nepotism was also existing in Bourbon dynasty. Okay, then costly wars, mainly what Anglo-French wars were happening. Anglo-French rivalry, different Carnatic wars, including many Austrian succession war, many wars were happening. Because of that, they have imported a lot of money there. Okay, because of all those things, finances in France was getting downgraded. Okay, and finally, France supported the American Revolution, which aimed self-rule, liberty, equality, and democracy for the people. Okay, this is another point, and the perspective you guys start to think. I told you directly, we understood that France came, helped America, and they have imported a lot of money here. Because of that, already there was a bad condition in France. It got even more worse. Okay, this is what happened with respect to the finance. Same thing. Think about the ideological perspective also. From France, people are coming. Army is coming to America to help America. And why America is fighting for? America is fighting for, they want self-rule, they want liberty, they want equality, democracy. Okay. Then they were fighting for this. And when the army came back to France, even they also started feeling like, why can't we also have all this liberal thoughts in our society? Okay, why can't we also have self-rule? Why can't we also have liberty, equality, democracy? This also instigated in people's mind, and obviously our thinkers, they all supported this thought process, and all of a sudden, and a lot of chaos is happening, and this were one of the main political cause with respect to French Revolution. Okay, so I hope the last point is clear. We are talking about the minds of the people, how it worked. Okay, people went to America and they came back to France after the victory of the war, and obviously army will come back and say and spread the news that America, they are fighting for self-rule, liberty, equality, democracy. Then but it took 10 years for the ideas to get imbibed in France. After 10 years after American Revolution, after 10-13 years only, French Revolution is happening. But then also ideas was imported from America. They had a thought process saying that if they can do it, then why can't we also? Having all these things, we can overthrow the monarchy. Okay, and this was one reason. In spite of all those things, the Bourbon dynasty, nepotism was there. Rulers were living a very lavish life, and normal people were suffering from a lot of things like food shortage, inflation, poverty, unemployment, all these issues. And famines and droughts was also repeatedly coming in France. All these things was made politically in big time instability in the chaos. Okay. Okay, these are the portrait for Bourbon dynasty. Okay, we can see in the situation of very bad economic portrait also how people are living. Okay, they were very lavish. They were not much into the understanding of common people plight. Okay. Next, we are talking about the role of Enlightenment thinkers. Okay, Enlightenment thinkers, in the class of Enlightenment, we have discussed about 4 different thinkers. Okay, so this reason will not be new to you. You guys will be very familiar. So, Enlightenment grounding of rationalism. What do you mean by rationalism? Asking for reason, logic, evidence. Okay, so reasoning is more towards rationalism. Okay, without proof, we need proof for everything. Okay, cause and effect was inquired. So grounding or rationalism, the thinkers argued that man was born to be happy and not to suffer, as stated by the church. Okay, what was church was telling? I told you last class also. Church was telling that you have to suffer in this world so that the next world which you will go in, you will have heaven there. Okay, and they used to make the people work like slaves. This was the instruction given by church to people. But this rationalist or the thinker said that man was born to be happy and not to suffer, as stating by the state church. Okay, then next idea was towards secularism, focused on secularism, as they either denied God or ignored him in their discussions. Thinkers were not into talking about the religion, God, etc. More their focus was towards the secularism. So all this also by one side was supporting French Revolution, or it was instigating or catalyzing so that French Revolution can happen. Okay, this was happening. Then Voltaire believed that all religion was absurd as it was against the logic of reasoning. Absurd means non-purposeful. It was not purposeful. Okay, non-logic, illogical. Voltaire believed that all this religion is illogical because it is going against the logic of reason. Obviously, church was ruling that time. Church said that we had letter of indulgence, everything yesterday we discussed. Okay, so church said that you have to suffer in this world maximum so that next world you go. That means after your death, you'll be going to a next world, there you will get heaven. Okay, this was spread from the church to the people. So people will think that whatever problems I'm going through, whatever worse conditions I'm living, it is okay because God is giving me, because He is planned to give a new life in other world. Okay, this was the message which was passed from church to the people, and people blindly believed this. Okay, that is how the things were going on. So Voltaire believed that this is all religions are absurd because it will not serve the purpose. It is against the logic of reason. Next one is atheist and materialist. Man's destiny lay in his own hands. What is atheist and materialist said? That actually God will not decide. Okay, what our thing will be, man have to decide about his own destiny, or he has to work towards development of his own things. This is what other people have said. Okay, then ideas of democracy were propounded by thinkers like Montesquieu and Rousseau. Okay, that also we know. Montesquieu and Rousseau have given their own theories, so that ideas of democracy was given by the thinkers to the people. So this role of thinkers also helped as one of the reason for French Revolution to happen. We have seen political reasons. Okay, we are seeing now Enlightenment thinkers, what was their role towards awakening of a revolution. Okay, so we know that revolution will not happen suddenly on a day. Okay, it happens, or a change in process will happen gradually with a lot of things coming together, and with a quite good leadership, things will happen. Okay, this is what is happening in respect of French Revolution also. Economic causes. What were the economic causes? Okay, so today we will be talking more towards economic causes because there is a lot to talk with respect to economic causes, and we have some story behind this. If you're not understanding the story, then you can't link the things. Okay, it is impossible to by heart the things and go with respect to different revolutions. So better you know the story, you have the points to write, because in answers, uh, one or two pages you can't write the story. Okay, sorry. Yeah, in one or two pages you can't write the story. What you expected to do is that what is your analysis from the story to write for the answer. Okay, what are you getting your points out of that? Okay, so the best way to write is that causes and divide into political, economic, everything. But to write economic, political and other army reasons, you should be knowing what was the story behind that. Okay, that we'll be discussing more in economic causes today. Okay, now and I told you yesterday, development of a country, situation, a state, everything depends upon the economy. Okay, based upon economy, things will start changing. Everything will round around the economy. So Karl Marx theory also, economic determinism. So that is actually a proof in many of the actual practical cases. Okay, with respect to economic causes, France 1780s repeated droughts and famines. This I told you already. The condition was very bad. There were repeated droughts and famines, and you can see, you would have been seen in pictures in Hollywood movies and all. Women were standing in long lines to just to get the bread for the entire family. Okay, all this chaos was happening, and high inflation, food shortage, unemployment, and highly unequal system of taxation. Okay, now we are going to talk about this, how unequal system of taxation was there in France. Okay, before that, be very sure with the first 4 points. Okay, repeated droughts and famines. You should remember these points. Okay, when question come, economic causes, one by one, this reasons should be there. Okay, don't search. You can't search for in that 7-8 minutes for new reasons or something to come out of blue moon. It will not happen. Okay, this you should be knowing. What were the reasons? Droughts and famines, high inflation, food shortage, unemployment, and highly unequal system of taxation. Okay, so droughts and famines was there. Obviously, what will happen? Then agriculture productivity will not be there. Agriculture productivity will not be there means what? Food will not be produced. Plus food shortage will happen. Food shortage happens, what will happen? Prices will go up because demand is more, supply is very less, inflation will happen. And obviously, all these things will result in unemployment also. This was the one side of economic cause. Next, we are going to talk about how the taxation was there in France. Okay. Okay. We had basically a 3 estate system concept in France. Okay. This is very important with respect to French Revolution. You should be knowing this. Okay. There was a concept called 3 estates. Okay. Was there in France. And first estate, or the on top most estate, will be having the clergy. Okay, clergy, and then the second layer was noble, and the last layer was the normal people, third estate. Okay, the peasants and all those lawyers, doctors, all this normal working class will come in the third estate. So French society was divided into 3 different estates. Okay, now we'll try to understand more about this. Okay, this was the okay. This is the condition. Okay, French Revolution was divided into 3 different estates. What are first? So you can see here when you're drawing in your lecture note, make sure that you draw the triangular pyramid like this. Okay, very little portion. That means only 1% population for first estate, that is clergy. Second one is also 2% of population, little bit, and the last total, the rest 97% will be third estate. Okay, 97% was going towards third estate. This was the structure of society for taxation and for decision making, for ruling in France during that time. Okay, now the first estate is clergy. Okay, clergy will have the church. That means people from the church will decide things. Okay, all people who work for church, the priest, and all these members of the first estate. Okay, and they will give sanction to the rule of king. Who will give? King, everybody will come in the clergy, first estate only. Okay, king also will come. King and church will come here. Okay, in the first estate. Okay, king and church, I told you last class also, church was on top. Church will decide who will rule. Okay, that is divine right of rule was given by the church. Okay, divine right to rule. And many thinkers question this concept of divine right to rule. Church said that, okay, God have selected you to rule, okay, and used to allocate to the kings the right to rule and impose taxes and live lavish life. That was happening. The first estate, only 1% of population, and who were members of that king and the church. Okay, you know that population will be very less, only 1% of population. Okay, second estate was the nobility. Okay, that means large landlords. Okay, and high post occupying people with respect to church, and people who related to kingship family for their work, ministers, all these people used to come in the nobility class, and they represented, or the second estate represented 2% of the population of the people. Okay, very less. And rest 97% population, where they're coming in third estate. That means absolutely we can say they are poor people. Okay, and actually this third estate have different groups, like different groups are there, different occupational groups. I told you guild system existed during that time, so different occupational groups are there, and they have educated middle class people were also there in the third estate, and different professionals are there, doctors, lawyers, teachers, all these professionals are there, and landless laborers. Finally, landless laborers, all these people are categorized into this third estate. 97% population comes in third estate. This should be clear. First estate, second estate, third estate. First estate, who is the king and the church. Second estate, who is the nobility. Third estate, who is the different occupational groups, educated middle class, professionals, landless laborers, and all these people were there in the third estate. Okay, now you see the taxation structure. Basically, first and second estate not paid any tax. Okay, this two group, no tax. So obviously, the burden of taxation will come to whom? Third estate used to pay burden of all taxes. They used to pay all taxes. Okay, that was happening in France during that time. That's why I told you highly unequal system of taxation was happening. Okay, so first and second estate no tax. Third estate has all the burden of taxes. Okay, so and in spite of that, what was situation was that king and the church was imposing taxes separately. King also imposed taxes, church also imposed taxes. That was happening with respect to third estate. Okay, and king and church will not impose any tax on first two estates. Only third estate, all the burden. Okay, and I have said to you that France was under the monarchy of Bourbon dynasty. They were ruling for a couple of centuries, and during French Revolution, who was there? King Louis the 16th was there. Okay, he was in charge of France during French Revolution. Okay, now I hope you understood this. Little bit we'll talk about the concept of estate general. Okay, there is a concept of estate general here. Okay, what is estate general? Normally, when introducing any new tax, what was system was that these three estates will sit separately and they will vote. Now you see here, first estate will have 300 votes. Okay, second estate 300 votes, third estate 600 votes. And what has happened is that these three groups, first, second, third, will sit separately and vote for the imposition of any taxes. Okay, and decision will be based upon majority. That means what? If 2/3, okay, two houses opted yes for in taxation, it will happen. Two houses opted no for a taxation, taxes will not be implemented. But obviously, what will happen? First and second will say yes, you can impose the tax because anyway they are not paying tax. Third estate is paying tax. So all the burden was coming on third estate. Even the voting system was not there. So the system of voting system, or the institution of these three estates sitting separately, voting, deciding about the taxes, policies, and this institution is known as Estates General. Okay, hope this is clear. Estate General represents all the people in France, the three estates. Okay, the estate general had all the three estates, but with respect to decision with respect to taxation, imposing new tax, increasing any tax, any policy implementation, something new rules are coming in, what will happen? These three will sit separately and vote. They will not sit together, because if you sit together, obviously majority third estate will win. So because of that, purposefully, what was the rule? Estate general happens means this three estate will sit separately in three different rooms, and then they will vote, and finally, based upon majority, taxes will be implemented. So obviously, what was happening from centuries, what is happening? Bourbon dynasty is ruling, and what is happening? Estate general is happening, but what is happening? Third estate is getting all the burden of taxes. This was happening with respect to estate general. So you should be knowing this. Three estates were there: clergy, nobility, and poor people or normal peasants, occupational people, educated middle class, professionals, landless laborers. All these people were in the third estate. And there is an institution called the Estates General. What do you mean by Estate General? It represented all the people in France in all the three estates. But any decision was there depending upon the majority of the decision, and they used to sit separately and vote. This you have to emphasize because we have some changes coming now. Okay, so this you remember, they used to sit separately and vote. So this was happening with respect to the estate system. Okay, now what has happened is that we are talking now about 1789 era. Okay, we are now talking about this era. From 1614, no estate general was convened. That means what? Kingdom have dissolved the concept of estate general. Just the king will decide by himself and church will decide by themselves. They will impose different taxes. People are at burden situation. No estate general was convened from 1640. Okay. Till 1614, people were coming to separately and used to decide about the taxation policies, everything. From 1614, what has happened is that no estate general was convened. Okay. This also you note down. Because what has happened is that now okay, this is actually, you don't have to write this PPT, only you have to see the picture. You see the third estate is having the burden of the first and the second estate. All their expenses, their lavish life, who is holding? The third estate is holding. This is the meaning of the picture. You don't have to write anything from this picture. Okay. Now, structure of French society we are talking. Okay, I told you third estate. I hope you understood the concept of three estates. Okay, if you understood only, then we can move ahead and discuss about other things. Only you have to remember that first and second did not pay, and they used to sit separately and decide. So obviously, two houses will vote saying that yes, you can go and impose taxes. Third estate will end up in paying taxes. That was happening, and the institution is called estate general. Okay. Now, the third estate had burden of all the taxes. King and the church charged taxes separately. And Bourbon dynasty under King Louis XVI dissolved, or not under King Louis XVI, Bourbon dynasty dissolved the concept of estate general from 1614. There is no estate general is happening. Just the church is imposing taxes, separately king also deciding taxes, and then third estate was keep on paying taxes. Now, situation is changed. Thinkers have come. They got ideas from America because armies came back and spread the information from there. And there is a lot of chaos in society. Church is going dominating. A lot of economic reasons, political instability. People start to think differently. Now we can't take this anymore. Okay, that was that condition with respect to the people there. We'll see. Okay. Now I told you there was no estate general from 1640. So almost like 170 years there is no estate general or no grouping is happening. So, and we also know that Anglo-French rivalry and American Revolution expenditure increased and financial burden was there with France. France was having no money because of that, lot of chaos in society. Okay, now France need money because the first two estates want to live lavishly, expenses has to happen, they need money. So what they started thinking is that let's impose some new taxes. Okay, so first and second estate deciding that let's impose some new taxes. Okay, and this we are already discussed. We don't have to discuss now. Okay, guild system was prevailing. Industrial revolution not started. Low, all these things we discussed. Low agricultural productivity. This is all the condition of France during that time. Okay, now we'll talk about the concept of now the first and the second estate decides that let's introduce some new taxes so that we'll collect more money from people and our life will be settled. Because already there's inflation happening, famine and drought, it's affecting their life also. So let's have a life how it was before. Let's get more money from people. Anyway, we are not paying. So let's impose some new taxes to the third estate was the new plan of the king and the church. Okay. 1789, King Louis XVI considered imposing new taxes on third estate. Okay, this slide you can copy and write. Well, we are talking about the timeline from 1789 to 1794. 1789 is the year of French Revolution or the year of revolution we say. Okay, so 1789, King Louis XVI considered imposing new taxes on third estate. King decides to reconvene estate general after how many years? After 170 years, he said that, okay, let's, because they were imposing taxes by this time. Now they wanted to impose something new. Okay, some high level of taxes. For that, estate general has to convene. Okay, because of otherwise small taxes changes they used to do from 170 years, they used to decide from them their side and they used to propagate. Now they said that, okay, now reconvene. Let's do reconvene the Estate General again. Okay. So I told you any decision majority among the Estate General was based upon the majority. Normally 3 estates used to sit separately. Now you come to the point. Here, 1789, King Louis XVI decides that let's reconvene Estate General. So what has happened? They thought that, again, like how the story, back to story. Both the estates will decide, impose new tax on third estate. Third estate will start paying taxes. We'll have the old life. What happened is that third estate, now they are aware. They had a lot of chaos. They have information. Thinkers are there. People are aware. They have demanded that we will sit together and vote. No more sitting separately. We'll sit together and vote. So what will be the impact of sitting together? Obviously, what will happen? The majority will be some 600 plus people are there in third estate. They will have the majority and they will decide the things. Okay. This was demanded by the third estate to the clergy and the king and the church that we'll sit together and vote this time. Okay. Now we'll see where the story is going. Okay. They have decided that we'll sit together and vote. What happened is that they were all together coming for a day to discuss. Okay. And just 1 minute. I'll tell you the date. Okay, I'm not getting a date. Fine. Okay. So they decided that, okay, these 3 estates will come together, sit together and vote. Okay. What happened is that they all come together for the voting system. So suddenly, Kings said that let's sit after lunch. Okay. We'll break for lunchtime and you come back after lunch. All the 3 estates will sit together and we'll decide on the. So sitting was posted after lunch. Okay, everybody went for lunch that day. When they came back after lunch, okay, entry to third estate banned to the parliament or to the institution where they are convening the estate general. Okay, what the security guards have told, those who belong to third estate, they cannot enter. Okay, and this was made chaos among the third estate. They have said that we no more need the permission of first and second estate, and they went to a nearby tennis court and they have decided that now we are the new group who will be ruling or imposing new taxes, and they have named the third estate as National Assembly. Okay, now onwards, 79 onwards, the third estate will be called as National Assembly. Okay, so we are talking about from 1614, no estate general was convened for almost 70 years. Okay, monarchy was kept on increasing, new and new taxes, burden of taxation was increasing. Okay, and we have said that how there was economic problems, we discussed all this time. Okay, so the third estate demanded that, okay, now let's sit together this time and then we'll vote for the taxes. Okay, and the king has said that, okay, fine, no problem, we'll break for now. Post lunch, we'll sit together and we'll decide upon the taxes. But when the third estate members came back after the lunch break, their entry to the parliament was banned. Okay, and they got angry. They went to a nearby tennis court and they have decided that no, from today onwards, we have the majority. We'll decide about taxes and our body will be called as National Assembly from today onwards. Okay, and this was instigated during that time. Okay, that is the story. Uprising in Paris against, okay, at the same time, this you keep a full stop here and remember here. So what has happened? Tennis court oath. That means they are calling third estate as National Assembly here. Okay, that was the one side. At the same time, there was an uprising in Paris against food inflation was happening. Okay, National Assembly came in supporting this uprising. Okay, some rebellion, some meeting, some chaos was happening against the food inflation in Paris. Okay, now third assembly already came as a body. Correct. People as majority support is there. So they are like, okay, now we are the new National Assembly. We are deciding everything. Now they came to know about the uprising happening in Paris. So this National Assembly came and said that, okay, we will support. Okay, this uprising we will support. And National Assembly also, people came to Paris and supported this food inflation uprising. Okay, what has happened is that the uprising went on and finally resulted in something called storming of the Bastille, or that is the beginning of French Revolution. What is Bastille? Bastille was a prison in France during that time, or in Paris. Okay, so this was what happened at the same time. Okay, So what is happening? Third estate is known as National Assembly from 1789. Tennis court oath have changed the name of third estate towards National Assembly. Okay, that has happened. That you keep in one side. Then other side, what is happening is that there's an uprising against food inflation happening in Paris. National Assembly said that, okay, now we are a legitimate body, we are supporters of majorities, let's support this uprising. Uprising went on, it became violent. In Paris, there was a prison called Bastille, and storming of the Bastille, the event happening in Paris with the support of National Assembly, and this is marking the beginning of French Revolution. Some violent action is happening. This marks the beginning of French Revolution. Okay. Now, after this, what is happening? King agreed for joint sitting. Uprising, storming of the Bastille happened. So that was the main center of Paris. It was their respect got hit. And finally, what the king said, okay, now we are agreeing for joint sitting. Okay, this is a picture for the Bastille. The storming of the Bastille happened. Actually, there was only 7 people, somebody there. We'll see that. Okay, storming of the Bastille. Okay, it actually occurred in Paris. You will not get a separate question on this. Okay, I've just added this slide for your information, because if I tell you in one line, you will get confused thinking what it is. Okay, so we'll discuss in this slide and we'll have little information. Okay, don't worry. It's no separate questions on this thing. You only have to know what was storming of Bastille, how it happened. Okay, so occurred in Paris, France. After this is the date. Okay, 14th July 1789. It happened on Paris. You don't have to remember the date. Remember the year if you can. That's it. So the medieval armory, fortress, and political prison known as the Bastille represented royal authority in the center of Paris. Actually, this institution or this building was representing royal authority of the Bourbon dynasty. So suddenly when it got burnt, that is why king agreed that, okay, now let's sit for joint assembly. Okay, the prison contained only 7 inmates, not many people at the time of its storming, but was seen by the revolutionaries as a symbol of monarchy's abuse of power. Okay, because political prisoners were kept. Monarchy used to use this prison to keep political prisoners who speak against them. Okay, and in France now, 14 July celebrated as the Bastille Day, as the national day in France. Okay, this is about the storming of the Bastille. This is not required. I just told you as additional information. You only have to know about 3 estates. Okay, 3 estates were there. Both first 2 estates did not paying taxes. Third estate was only had all the burden of taxes. Now, because of financial problem, King Louis XVI decides that let's impose new taxes, reconvene estate general. At that time, third estate is saying that no, we can sit together this time. Okay, King Louis agrees by word, saying that okay, we can do. Now we will break for the lunch time. After post lunch, we'll sit together and discuss. When third estate people are coming after lunch towards the parliament, they are banned from entering the parliament. So they got agitated and they went to a nearby tennis court, and tennis court oath is taken in 1789, deciding that we are the National Assembly from today onwards. Then uprising is happening in Paris. National Assembly going and supporting this uprising. Storming of Bastille happened. Okay, till this you have to remember for this class. Okay, I will not discuss more because you will get confused. Okay, this much we'll see. You don't have to, only this much is a story for today. Okay, we're talking about the causes of French Revolution. Political causes we have done. We started with the economic causes. Economic causes, this is one of the reasons. Highly unequal system of taxation. So there comes the 3 estate story. Okay, how it was before and after 1614, after 170 years, now it is imposed again, and how people responded, what is happening, all these things we are discussing. Okay, I hope you guys are clear with this. Okay, and rest things we'll discuss tomorrow.